Hello to you from Northern Maine. I am Marcy Young. I am at Presque Isle High School, which is in Presque Isle, Maine. Presque Isle sounds French and it sounds nautical. However, we are up in the middle of potato fields, nowhere near the ocean, and we are about an hour from the Canadian border if you go north and about 15 minutes if you go east. What people usually call Northern Maine is still about 4 hours south of where we are. So my high school is about 550 students, and we are a Jostens customer yearbook program. And this is my 9th yearbook that I'm working on this year. It is called The Ship, which again is not because we're anywhere near the ocean, but because PIHS backwards spells ship. I thought for just the sake of some show and tell, I'm going to share with you some of the traditions that have built a culture in this space and in this program. Some that I inherited. It makes me a little emotional even to think about the legacy that I was lucky enough to get coming on board here. And some that have just developed because the students saw them, grasped onto them, and have made them a thing. So I'll flip the camera around and give you a very brief tour of what already is a very chaotic classroom. 4 or 5 days in, and the clutter and creativity, it's making a lot of good stuff happen. I did want to point out that here in Maine, we are a full masked sort of environment. Public school kids of all ages, all day, are wearing a mask. And so far, I'm here to tell you, it's gone just fine. We've got 550 kids walking around wearing their face masks all day. And man, I appreciate the kind of students I have here. So anyway, since I'm alone in here, everywhere you look in this classroom, there's just stuff everywhere that to an outsider might look partly like clutter and also partly like just our stuff. So one of the tiny things I wanted to show you, it's really in some ways sacred to us, is the diner bell, right? The deal with the bell is you don't touch the bell, you don't ding the bell until you publish a spread. And it's a sweet sound when you hear it. It's a moment of celebration. People walking by in the hall looking here like we're strange, and we just kind of love it. It's exciting. So something that simple. I'm sure most programs do something like this, but man, don't my students love having a sense of group photo, family, tradition, and so on. Every year when we go out on the town and sell ads, the students come dressed in their business best and before they strike out for the day, because I do not go, they go without me. They shake hands, they sell ads, and they come back with money in hand and feeling awesome. We take a photo of them dressed, which shows siblings, their older siblings. We see what last year's kids wore so we can plan accordingly if kids aren't quite sure what we mean by dressed up. And it's just a tradition. And it's great to have a space in the classroom where that exists, because there aren't many classrooms where they see who sat in that space before them. And this may be perhaps just a little strange, but it works for us. We have a wonderful touchstone reference point that we use with Helen Keller. And we talk about her essay that she wrote about walking in the woods, and if she had a chance to see what she would be looking for that so many of us miss. The idea being that it's never just a school year, that it's really about seeing the texture and the stories and the individual moments. And so she's kind of become somewhat of a mascot for us, if that's not strange. What would Helen say, or what would Helen do? We often reference that we would be pressuring ourselves to look past just the everyday and into the deep storytelling possibilities that we try to appreciate that are happening every year. Just a couple more things. It's another tradition that when we go on vacations, we try to bring back to the classroom a cheesy magnet. It's a little show and tell. There's always a story. There's a Helen Keller magnet from our time in DC last fall, and so on. And so many of them are already in use on the chalkboard, so I can't show you all, but that's just a little one. But it's just part of what makes this space their space. For the last one, and a student developed this about 6 years ago, and my word, if it hasn't stuck, This is a plaque, sort of your very 40s plaque of a ship, which of course, again, is our yearbook name. It is next to the door that we exit from every day. And a student a few years ago, about 6 years ago, decided to high five it when she left the room. And so there is a tradition called slap the ship that every student does before they leave. It's one of those last, I don't know, like we kind of rocked it today kind of moments. This year, as you can see next to the COVID stay healthy information, we are not slapping the ship the same way, more of an air high five. But it's still there, it is still ours. Some days it's rough, and we say, we didn't slap the ship slapped us, but we get back in the saddle the next day. So again, I think you can tell some of those things are kind of near and dear to my heart. It's what makes this one of the best parts of my day and of just being back at school, right? And I think my takeaway for anybody who is setting up a space or has been in a program and it feels like it's not quite there yet or something, and Lord knows I don't have all the answers and I'm nowhere close to wherever there is, but those little traditions, a shelf on a room, a space on a chalkboard, something that a student comes up with, geez, they matter. And I could think of probably a dozen more that are kind of more intangible or things that we do maybe not in this classroom, but when the kids look around this space, it feels like home. And so I encourage you to come up with some of your own small spaces or moments that are part of the culture. And it's a program that I think creates culture and reflects the culture. And it's great when the two can help each other improve all the time. All right, as I say, rock out, slap the ship.